At the Downtown Women's Center, we serve more than 4,000 homeless and extremely low-income women each year. We provide them services that meet their basic needs, and also permanent housing, as well as health services, mental and physical health services, and job readiness, job placement, and education services. So it's really a wraparound model for providing services for women. And most importantly, it's a holistic, supportive community for women, where women can heal.
The Downtown Women's Center really was founded by a volunteer, and since 1978, the Women's Center has always had the strong belief that it takes a community to solve the issue of homelessness. Right now, the Downtown Women's Center has over 4,000 volunteers who are at every level integrated into our community.
Deloitte has been a long-term pro bono partner of the Downtown Women's Center, and we worked closely with them in developing the service enterprise characteristics that are defined today.
Because volunteerism and service have been such a key part of our organization for such a long time, the whole organization has really bought into making sure that volunteers function effectively at the Downtown Women's Center. So everyone from our board to our executive leadership to the women who we serve are committed to creating a welcoming environment for volunteers. An environment where volunteers can pursue their own personal goals and also where the needs of the center can be met.
So in 2000, I was able to hire our first volunteer coordinator. And this was an important investment in our community because we wanted to be more strategic on how we used volunteers. It was the first time that we saw a huge increase in homeless women in Los Angeles. So about 33% of the homeless population were women in LA. And we really were looking at how we can address this issue more effectively. As our skill level working with volunteers increased, we were able to use volunteers at a much higher skill level using their best of skills. We no longer need to go out and look for volunteers. Word of mouth spreads, which shows to us that our program is working and it's working effectively.
In addition to the paid staff positions we have that are supporting volunteerism at the Downtown Women's Center, we also invest a lot in training, not just of the volunteer program staff who run the program, but also all of the people throughout the organization who manage volunteers on a daily basis. Everybody goes through training on what makes a good volunteer experience. Managing volunteers is part of everyone's job at the organization, and we also allocate resources to make sure that volunteers are given what they need in terms of appreciation, parties, or other things like that, just to make sure that everybody's feeling the work they're doing is being reflected back to them in a really positive way.
We have a variety of methods for tracking our volunteer support, and we found that in 2013 we had over 4,300 volunteers serve over 30,000 hours, which is the equivalent of 15 full-time employees.
The value of volunteer time works out to be over $500,000 in value based on the national valuation of the average volunteer hour. Our volunteer database really allows us to communicate easily with our volunteers and also keep track of all the information about them that allow us to reach out to them in very personalized ways. So what their interests are, what jobs they've done, how long they've been involved, what trainings and certifications they have that make them qualified for certain responsibilities. And then we use this information to be able to craft a really personalized approach. When we get on the phone with somebody, we can easily, anybody in the organization can acknowledge the volunteer for their time and effort. This year we're also planning on introducing an online scheduling feature, which should really help volunteers be able to see exactly when and exactly how they can get involved in the Downtown Women's Center. It should really help improve a lot of our efficiencies and processes so that we can spend more time on the personal communication and acknowledgement and less time on the logistics of getting everyone in the door. We really try to create a welcoming environment here at the Downtown Women's Center, both in our physical space and online with our online presence, so that people feel like they're a part of the community, even though they may only volunteer with us once or twice a year. They know what's going on here. They have a chance to meet other volunteers and connect with them. And they have a chance to make their volunteerism something that enhances their interaction with the city of Los Angeles as well. One of the things that really helps us be successful with our volunteers is that we set clear expectations across the board for the volunteers and for the staff and for the women who we serve. So volunteer job descriptions are very clear, very detailed, presented up front. The way that somebody gets involved in going to an orientation and then a training and then an on-the-job training is set forth on the website very publicly. Many of our volunteers also become donors to the organization. Once they come through our door, they've worked with some of the women who we serve, they've learned about the issue, they have a really intimate knowledge of what we're doing and why the work we're doing is so important, and they're going to be more committed to the organization than many other people would be who haven't worked so closely with us. The full impact of our volunteer program on the organization is really quite extensive. Most of our volunteer groups, in particular, have a multifaceted relationship with the center. So they're not only sending a group of volunteers over to cook a meal, they also have someone who's on our board of directors, they are participating in our annual fundraising event, potentially we're involved in their grant-making process. By partnering with community groups, corporations, service organizations, churches, schools, we're able to not only extend the impact of our volunteer program in a lot of ways for the center, but become truly a partner in the community to support those institutions' goals as well as our own.
In addition, the biggest impact they have is just talking to other people and their friends about how we can solve homelessness, what it takes to solve homelessness. And that's an important role, and without the support of volunteers, our message cannot get out there.
I can confidently say that not only does the volunteer department, but all staff at DWC enjoy working with volunteers on a daily basis. We all understand the necessity of working with volunteers to fulfill our mission and to end homelessness for women.